Welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to teach you how to change the way that you speak to yourself so that you can start creating the life that you want. Let's dive in. I want you to think about this. I want you to think about what you would think about yourself and what you think other people would think about you if there was a speaker that was on your shoulder that just blasted out all of the dialogue in your head and everybody else could hear it. What would they think? You know, if they could hear, and you know, if I sat down with you and I could hear everything that you say to yourself on a daily basis, I think that it would be really obvious to see why your life is the way that it is. Even for someone who's not been coaching as long as I have, they could probably be like, well, yeah, it makes sense why you have this life because this is how you talk to yourself. And that person could probably make a very accurate assumption of where your life will be in a few years based off the way that you talk to yourself. And, you know, I can speak from experience of the way that I have shifted over years of the way I used to speak to myself to how I speak to myself now. And before I kind of found, you know, how to speak to myself, I got into self-development when I was 19 years old. I really didn't start thinking about the voice inside of my head until I was about 22 years old. So we're talking about 2008 or so. And for me, like, I was a very cautious person. And what I mean by cautious is like, I wouldn't put myself out there. I wouldn't get out of my comfort zone. I made a whole lot of excuses as to why I didn't have the life that I wanted and, you know, why things weren't working out for me. And I was really good at blaming everybody else but myself and making myself a victim. I was also like the type of person who, even when like I played sports, I would always shoot and hope I didn't miss. Like I never shot to make it. I feel like when I played basketball, it was like I would shoot and be like, hope it goes in. And I felt like that was kind of the overall feeling of my entire life was like, hey, I hope it works out. I hope that I don't get screwed over today. I hope that I make some money. And it's like, hoping is not going to do anything for you. And so I was always like, I'll shoot and hope I don't miss. And then I learned that the way that I spoke to myself was very disempowering. And I relearned from mentors, but also just by trial and error of how I speak to myself. And I can tell you now, after being very, very diligent in the way that I speak to myself over the past 16, 17 years or so, after being very, very diligent in the way that I speak to myself, what I'm going to teach you absolutely works. When I first heard it back in like 2008, when I first started it, I didn't know if it worked. It sounded true, like, okay, cool. If I changed the way that I speak to myself, I guess my life would be different. But I can tell you now, after 16 years of doing it, I can tell you with absolute certainty, if you change the way that you speak to yourself, your life will change. And so there's very few things in this world that are more important than changing that voice inside of your head to what you want it to say to you. Because we all have a voice inside of our head that's saying things. If you don't believe me, go meditate for an hour and see if no thoughts come in. Go ahead, give it a try. That's why meditation's so hard for people, is because they think like, oh, I can't turn my brain off. I have so many thoughts. Well, you have a voice inside of your head that's always talking. It's always saying something. And this voice can say things like, oh, I need to get bread today. Or I need to go pick up the kids in 15 minutes. Or it can say stuff like, you're not good enough to be able to do that. You'll never amount to anything, so why even try? I'm too old to start a business, so I might as well just stick to what I'm doing now. I'll never get in the shape that I want to, so why even go to the gym in the first place? Oh, I'm too shy to go out. People think that I'm awkward. I'm not good with money. I always date the wrong guys. Whatever it is, there's a voice that's inside of your head that you might not even notice. And if you're thinking about this, you need to start becoming aware of it. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes, but I want you to understand that somehow we learned this narration that's going on in our heads. Either we learned it from someone else, from our parents, from teachers, from brothers, sisters, from society. We inherited it because we saw our parents speaking that way about themselves, and we're like, oh, I guess this is the way that we speak to ourselves. Or you created it based off of your life experiences. Maybe you got cheated on a couple times and now you've developed this thing of I'm not worthy of love, or I always date the wrong guys, or every woman is a cheater, whatever it might be that's inside of your head. So it's either you learned it, you inherited it, or you created it based off of your life experiences. But if that voice doesn't help you and it holds you back in some sort of way, you have to be the one that rewrites the program. Hey, real quick, I want to introduce you to something called Mindset Mentor Plus. If you love this podcast, you will absolutely love what I'm about to talk about. I designed Mindset Mentor Plus to help you actively integrate every one of these episodes into your life. And here's how it works. With every episode of this podcast that comes out, Mindset Mentor Plus subscribers get more. You're going to get multiple page, detailed, printable worksheets, effectively a mini masterclass that's way more in depth than just this podcast. They also come with journaling questions, challenges, assignments, and so much more, so that you're not just listening to these podcasts passively, but you're actively integrating them into your life. That way you improve much faster. I also do monthly Q&A sessions in there and much, much more. If you want to learn more about it, go to mindsetmentor.com or click the link that's down in the description. You have to be the one that changes it. It's like a program inside of a computer. It's basically like a virus inside of your mind. It's a virus inside the computer. What do you need to do? You need to take the virus out and you need to replace it with something that's going to help that computer do what it needs to do to run efficiently. So for you, you need to take that virus out, the way that you talk to yourself. You need to replace it with something that is empowering for you. It's like a song that's stuck in your head. And what you need to do is you need to get a new song stuck in your head. You need to find the new song. And it doesn't mean that this new song is going to go away or the old song is going to go away right away and the new song is just going to replace it. No, you've been saying this to yourself for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It's going to take some time to change it. And so I want you to think about this for a second. And maybe you know it off the top of your head. Maybe you need some journaling. But what is the dominant thought in your mind that's holding you back? What is it? Is it that I'm not good enough, not smart enough, not pretty enough? I always date the wrong person. I'm unlovable. I'll never get in shape. What is it? What is the dominant thought that you feel, if you could identify one dominant thought, the main one that's holding you back the most? What is it? Now, I understand some of you might be very aware of it. Some of you out there have no idea right now. But you know that there's a thought. Like you have this feeling, there's a thought, there's a feeling, there's an omnipresent vibe that's going on in your head that you just got to identify what it is. And you might not be aware of what it is. It's kind of like the story of like the fish swimming in the water, right? It's like two young fish are swimming in the water and there's an old fish that goes across and passes them and he says, "Hey, water feels great today, huh?" And the two young fish look at each other and like, "What's water?" Because they're young. They've been in the water their entire lives. They don't even know that the water's there. And so it's like a fish swimming in water where it's like, you might have been saying this to yourself for so long that you're not even really aware of it, but you need to become aware of it. It's been there for so long, it's unnoticeable, but it doesn't mean it's unfindable. You just got to find it. And so what you need to do is you need to identify that dominant thought that you have inside of your head. And then you need to ask yourself, what is a dominant thought that I want that will help me create the life that I want? You need to create one dominant thought. That's it. Now, I know how this works because I've talked with many of you guys out there. I get messages from you guys on Instagram and we chat back and forth on Instagram and stuff. And I know that I'll say, "Hey, do this one thing." And then people will be like, "Well, if he said do it one thing, if I do three of them, then, he said create one habit. So if I create three, it's 300% better. Oh, he said create one dominant thought. If I create three dominant thoughts, it's 3 times better." No, that's not the way that it works, okay? I want you to understand it's one thing and one thing only. And then after you feel in 6 months or a year or 2 years, whatever it might be, that this is already kind of like your dominant thought that's in your head, then what I want you to do is I want you to create another one after that. But I don't want you to create another dominant thought until you've literally got that dominant thought in your head. And so my question to you is, if you could create only one dominant thought that would help you change your life, what would it be? Okay, and this is what affirmations are. And I hate corny, cliche, BS affirmations. Like I hate when I see people say, create affirmations, and people will sit there and they'll put their hands out and they'll close their eyes and they'll say, "Money flows freely to me from all areas of the universe. Money flows freely to me from all areas of the universe." And then you open your eyes and you're like, that's bullshit. Why? Because we all have BS meters in our head. And so you know that the planet Pluto is not sending you, I guess it's not a planet anymore, the planet Jupiter that's not sending you $1,000 in your bank account. So clearly it's not coming from all areas of the universe, right? And so what I would prefer is that you create a real affirmation. And I have a 3-step process, super simple, to create an affirmation. The first thing is it needs to be true. The second thing, it needs to be empowering. And the third thing is it needs to be present tense. So not like I'll get it in the future. It's like speaking now. So it's true, it's empowering, it's present tense. And so it doesn't mean like if you're broke, you just close your eyes and say, I'm rich. No, that's stupid because it's not true. And also at the same time, it's not really that empowering because you're like, I don't know about this. This doesn't feel right. And so like examples, let me give you examples of what you could use if you're going through it. Now, don't steal these ones because, these are just ones that I just randomly came up with. I want you to find one that feels true to you, like feels true deep down to your bones. Like, oh yeah, this shit really gets me going. It really tickles your tots. That's what I'm looking for, right? So let's say you fear commitment. And that's the one thing, like you really want to get into a relationship, but you've screwed a lot of relationships up because you fear commitment and all the stuff that comes with it, right? If you fear commitment, maybe you write, and the first thing is it has to start with I am, okay? I am is super, super important. I am capable of making decisions that align with my values and my goals when getting into a relationship, right? Or if you're fearing commitment of starting a business, right? Whatever it might be, I'm capable of making decisions that align with my values and my goals. If I fear commitment in a relationship, it could also be something like, I trust that no matter what happens in all of my relationships, it's exactly what's supposed to happen. Whatever it might be that feels right for you. If you have the fear of responsibility, it could be something like, I am prepared to handle increased responsibilities with grace in my life. So that you're like, oh yeah, instead of being afraid of extra responsibility, I am prepared to handle increased responsibilities with grace in my life. If you have a scarcity mindset, it might be something like, I trust that there is enough for everyone, including me in my life, and my life will be abundant in all aspects. I trust. So if you have scarcity, that means there's not enough. So the opposite of that is, I trust that there's enough for everyone, including me, and my life will be abundant in all aspects. Financial worries. If you sit there and you worry about your finances all the time, I am open to new ways to increase my income. That's a good one. Or I'm worthy of financial abundance and stability. Cool, great. If you have the fear of failure, I'm resilient and capable of overcoming all challenges. Fear of failure, you can get past it that way. The fear of success, I'm deserving of all of the success that comes my way. The fear of change, I am excited about the possibilities that change brings in my life. If you have the fear of rejection, I'm proud of myself for taking risks and putting myself out there. And here's the way that I recommend that you do it, okay? I've recommended this to many people. I recommended this literally last week to a group of people in this program that I have called Mindset University. And I was like, hey, just do this for 7 days. And they came back yesterday and were telling me about it. And they're like, oh my God, I can already tell a massive difference in the way that I feel. Literally for doing this, what I'm about to tell you, for 7 days. And what it is you go and you buy these things called mala beads, M-A-L-A. You can buy them on Amazon for like $15-20. And there's 108 beads. And what you do is you wake up in the morning and you use the mala beads in the affirmation to help you reprogram yourself. Okay, so you have a dominant thought that's going on in your head and it's going over and over and over and over and over and over and over again throughout your head. Well, now we want to change it. So what do? As soon as we wake up in the morning, we go to the bathroom, we brush our teeth, we drink water, and then you go and you meditate while your brain is still in theta state, which is basically hypnosis. And what you do is you say your affirmation 108 times. So you close your eyes and you basically touch each bead. So you touch the bead and you say, let's say that you have the fear of change, right? I'm excited about the possibilities that all change brings in my life. And then you go to the next bead. I'm excited about the possibilities that all the change brings in my life. Next bead. I'm excited about all the possibilities that change brings in my life. And you do it over and over and over and over and over again, 108 times. So you go through the whole beads and you'll see there's a way to know when you finally finish all of them. And then you just go out about your day. Because if you have the fear of change and you're fearing change to be that are coming up in your life, but you say, I'm excited about the possibilities that change brings, and you start making that your dominant thought, then when things start to change, you don't get afraid of them anymore, but you're like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of excited for what could be. And so what you do is you're using these mala beads to actually start to reprogram your dominant thought. You're an adult now. It's time for you to reprogram yourself and not just go off of the programmings of your past and when you don't even know where they came from most of the time. For me, I speak to myself all the time. I've been doing this for years and years and years. I speak out loud to myself all the time. Literally, even today, I was doing it when I took the baby from my wife today, and he was crying and he was freaking out a little bit, and nobody in the house could calm him down. I was like, I'll calm him down. I pick him up, and I have this way of calming him back. So I calm him down, and I start, he stops crying within like 15 seconds, and then I'm walking up and down the hall with him, and I'm saying, we're calm, we're cool, we're collected. We're calm, we're cool, We're collected. And I'm saying out loud, and I don't know if it's influencing him. It's influencing me. And if it's influencing my vibration, he's feeling it, right? Whether it's my vibration that changes, whether it's my scent that changes, whether he smells it on me, or whether he just knows that there's a difference. He gets really calm when he's around me. And because I always try to calm myself. So I speak out loud to myself all the time. When I get into the gym and I feel like I'm weak and I feel like I'm a bitch and I'm not able to lift as much, I say, I'm powerful, I'm powerful, I'm powerful. I change the music and I talk to myself. And so I speak out loud to myself as much as I possibly can. There's a lot of value in that where, there's definitely good to say affirmations in your head, but when you say them out loud to yourself, it's not just in your head, it's also coming out of your mouth. So it's using more of your body. It's creating vibration. Your body feels it inside. You're hearing it. Your eardrums are actually moving from the vibration of it. And so it's more powerful to speak out loud to yourself. When I feel down, when I feel tired, when I feel lost, I use my phrases. It's like a song stuck in my head. I was teaching this the other day, and one of the questions that was asked to me in Mindset University, is a lady that was in there said, well, what's some of the affirmations that you used to say to yourself? And I remember, I completely forgot about it until this question was asked to me. I remember that when I was at my most fearful, when I first started this podcast, when I first started my business, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm good enough. I wrote down the affirmation, I am here to change the world. And I was like, holy shit, that feels real. That feels deep within my bones. I love that. That's true. That's empowering. That's present tense. That's the one I'm going for. I am here to change the world. So when I felt the feelings of, I don't know if I can do this, I immediately said, I'm here to change the world. And that affirmation of here to change the world was like, yeah, fuck you, little voice. I'm going to take over. I'm going to take control. And so what I did was I created this audio. I forgot that I did this. I took an audio that I loved. It was like a meditation audio. And I created my own breath work for myself. And so it's like, breathe in. And I'm speaking into my microphone over this audio, my own voice. I did this for myself. It's about 10 or 15 minutes long. And it was like, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Hold it. And then I breathe in and I'd hold it. And it would go for like a minute. And then the next one would go for a minute 30. And the next one would go and I would do 3 rounds of breathing. And then what I would do is when I got myself into a calm state after the breath work is I would repeat to myself the phrase. But here's what's really cool about it is me on the audio that I was hearing was, you are here to change the world. So I'm hearing it as if it's someone else speaking it to me. You are here to change the world. And then I would close, there would be a pause and I would have my eyes closed, be meditating, and I would say out loud, I'm here to change the world. And then it would say back to me, you are here to change the world. And I would say, I'm here to change the world. And it would say, you are here to change the world. And I'd say, I'm here to change the world. It would say, you are here to change the world. I'm saying, I'm here. And I am fucking reprogramming my mind to not be so worried and so fearful. And I don't know if I can do this, because I don't know if I can do this is completely destroyed when I hear somebody, quote unquote, saying to me in my head, you're here to change the world. As if someone's speaking it into my mind, and then I'm saying it to speak it into existence. And so it's this way of just me repatterning myself to believe the thing that I want to believe. I still say it all the time, especially when I feel like, I don't know if I can do this, man. Like, this is getting to be a lot. Like, this is a lot of responsibility. This is a lot of work. And then I'm like, I'm here to change the world. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I am. What am I talking about? This is what I was made for. And so I want you to really start thinking about the one dominant thought that you need in your mind and start programming it into your brain by saying it over and over and over and over again. There's times when I'm driving my car and I'll turn off the music and I'll just say, I'm here to change the world. I'm here to change it. And it just changes everything and influences every aspect of my life. And so find your one dominant thought and start programming it into your mind with as much repetition as you possibly can. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on your Instagram stories. Tag me in at Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. The only way this podcast grows is from you guys sharing it. So I greatly appreciate it when you do. And then also, if you love this podcast, you'll definitely love something I have that's called Mindset Mentor Plus. It's a subscription service where for every single episode of this podcast that comes out, you're actually going to get a whole lot more. And so for every episode that comes out, you're going to get detailed worksheets, multiple pages, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages sometimes, that go even deeper into every single topic. You can print them out, you can underline them, you can highlight them, you can put your notes in them. Every single one of them comes with journaling prompts so that you can actually use these and integrate them into your life. There's assignments, there's challenges, there's an entire massive community of over 1,300 people that you can connect with that are also part of Mindset Mentor Plus. And also at the same time, this is where I do my monthly Q&A sessions so you can actually ask me questions directly. So If you're interested in learning more about it, just go to mindsetmentor.com. Once again, mindsetmentor.com. The best part about it is it's way less than $1 a day. And so if you're interested in learning more about it, go to mindsetmentor.com. And with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make somebody else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. What has shifted in you, and what do you think can shift in people to help their viewpoint of money? Because as you said, if they play their cards right over the next 18 months, it could be the biggest, probably the biggest financial gain that they've ever had in their life up until this point. So when you think about money and the psychology of money, how do you think of it? Do you think of it like energy, like some people do? Or like, what is the thought that goes through your mind of how to help people understand money better, but also change their psychology around money with what's coming up?
Well, I grew up dirt poor. We had no money for food. Probably the most significant event in my life, one of them at least, was when I was 11 years old and we had no money and no food, and it was Thanksgiving. So it magnified it. We wouldn't have starved. We had crackers and butter or peanut butter. But there was no, you're not going to have a dinner and everybody else is having that, right? So my parents were fighting, and my fourth father is screaming at my mother, and my mother saying things to him that she'll never be able to take back. And, I could feel him feeling like he's failed his family, which he did fail to provide. Lost his job and didn't handle his finances well. So we literally were completely broke. Mm-hmm. And there was a knock at the door, and I opened the door, because they're fighting. I got my brother and sister in the back room, so they won't hear anything. And there's a guy standing there, like giant guy with 2 giant grocery bags full in his hand. And he had a pot he'd set on the ground that was an uncooked frozen turkey in a pot. And he said, "Is your father here?" I'm like, "Just one moment." So long story short, I go to get my dad, and he said, "You answer it." I said, "No, it's for you, Dad." And I'm like so excited, like this is going to change our Thanksgiving. And my father gets the door, opens the door, sees the man with the groceries, and gets angry. And he said, "We don't accept charity." And he went to slam the door. And the man's shoulder was there, so it kind of bounced off of it and kept open. And made my dad even madder. He goes, Sir. He said, "I'm just the delivery guy. Somebody wants you to have a great Thanksgiving. Everybody has tough times, and they want you to have a great Thanksgiving." My father said, "We don't take charity," and went to push harder. And this time the guy's foot, because he leaned forward, his foot was there, and it bounced off his foot. So now twice he tried to close the door, and my dad's getting more pissed. And then the guy sees me, and I don't know, I must have been ash falling because I was so excited. Now I was like shocked and so sad. What's going on here? And he looked at me, and I'll never forget this. He pointed at me and said, "Sir, don't let your ego make your family suffer." My father's veins on the side of his neck were bulging. He turned flush red. I thought he was going to punch the guy in the face. And my father finally got himself under control. He took the groceries, he slammed him down, slammed the door without saying thank you. And I remember I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand how we could be so angry when this was a gift. And years later, I figured it out, and it changed my life, is that everything we do is controlled by 3 decisions, including money. And the first one is, what are you going to focus on? That day, my dad had focused on the fact he'd not taken care of his family. Whatever you focus on, that's what you experience. I focused on there's food. What a concept. This is exciting, right? The second decision is the most important one, though. Whatever you focus on, your brain then has to decide what that means. And so my dad, I know what it means because he kept muttering it under his breath angrily for quite some time that night and the next day. And that was that he had not taken care of his family and that he wasn't a man anymore, right? So his life was meaningless. And as a result of that, the third decision we make is what I'm going to do. And my dad left us the next day. It was at the time the worst experience of my life because I loved him so much. He wasn't my natural father, but he's the one I associated to the most. But my life turned out different because I focused on there was food. What really changed my life was the meaning. It's like, this means strangers care. My father said, no one gives a shit about anybody. We lived in this, I thought was a wealthy town. It was a lower middle class town, but we lived on the other side of the tracks. So, they look wealthy compared to us. And my father would say, no one cares about anybody. But here I had evidence some stranger wanted no credit, was providing food. And I decided someday I'm going to do that for other people. So it changed. Our lives were different because we made those 3 decisions differently.
Welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to give you a secret to success. I'm going to help you figure out a way to make success, make your life, and make everything that you want easier and less stressful. Let's dive in. And I want to be real with you. Life can be really hard. Let's just be real. Life it's amazing. It's torture sometimes. It's beautiful. It's fun. It can suck. But it can be really fucking hard sometimes. And more than anything else, it is a journey that we're on. And throughout this journey, we do some things right, we do some things wrong, we get better, we take a step forward, we take 2 steps back, all of that. But at some point, all of us, everyone listening to this podcast, and myself included, at some point, we all get to the point where we wake up. We have woken up in some sort of way. And we look around our lives and we think about our lives and we realize that there is more for us in some sort of way. There's more for us. There's more happiness. There's more joy. There's more money. There's more peace. There's more for us to be able to, there's more experiences. There's more traveling. There's more everything. And we look at what we currently have and we say, there's more for me. And if I want more, I have to be the person to work on myself. If I want more of the good things and less of the bad things, less of the stress, less of the anxiety, if I want more, we get to the point where we realize I have to be different. We discover that we have to evolve. And I use the word evolve very specifically. I don't want to use the word become better, because actually when I wrote out this podcast, I wrote this bullet point. I put become better and then I deleted it and actually wrote must evolve. Because better, for me to think to myself right now, for you to think to yourself right now, I must become better. Better implies worse, which means that as you currently are, there's something wrong with you. You're currently worse. You're not worse. There's nothing wrong with you as you currently are. You are exactly where you need to be at the exact moment. But what you need to do is you need to evolve. You're either green or growing, or you're brown and dying. And we need to be green and growing, or else we're not going anywhere. We're stagnant. Now, I don't know about you. I don't want to feel stagnant in my life. But if we want to have more joy, more money, more love, more peace, more happiness, more everything, then we know that we must evolve as people. And when you first start on the journey of self-development, it's exciting. You're like, I can't wait to improve myself. I can't wait to evolve. I can't wait to get more, to have more fun, to have more money, to buy more cool shit, to have more happiness, to have more love, to be a better person. And then what happens is you go from this moment of living your entire life mostly unaware and having almost no self-awareness to now transitioning to this moment of having self-awareness. And what that self-awareness really truly is you are now self-aware of all of the shit that needs to change and all of the stuff that needs to go and all of the stuff that needs to evolve. And you start seeing all of your flaws and the things that you need to work through and all of that. And you're like, oh my God. It's too much. This is a lot. And what happens is you go from being unconscious and unaware of yourself to now being aware and seeing all of your flaws and sometimes judging yourself and shaming yourself and guilting yourself. And now when you screw up, you're aware of that screw up and think to yourself, man, I was aware of this. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have fallen into this pit because I know I do this. And the way I like to think about it is there's a Buddhist metaphor. And they basically say, like, imagine that you're at your grandparents' house, right? And your grandparents haven't opened the attic in 30 years. And you decide that you want to go into the attic. And you go up into the attic and you look, and there's a mirror that you see in the attic. And the mirror's just covered in dust. And you want to see how clear this mirror is. You want to see yourself in the mirror. So you take your hand and you start brushing away all of the dust. And as you're brushing away all of this dust to see yourself, there's all of this dust that comes into your face and you're coughing and you're sneezing and all of this dust is coming up in order for you to see your true self. That metaphor is basically the example of you've gone through this life unconscious to a lot of different things, but really what happens is now you're wanting to see your true self. And in order to see your true self, you have to get rid of all the stuff that is not you, all of the dust. And in fact, I want you to realize this, all of that stuff that's coming up, all the things that you're now aware of, I want you to understand this. There is nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. The journey that you are on in your life is perfect for you. It is absolutely perfect. Your life is a perfectly crafted curriculum for you to go through what you need to go through to learn whatever it is that you're here to learn on this planet. Your journey is designed for you and is far more intelligent than you can possibly understand. So I want you to understand that where you are is perfect, and in the circumstance you're currently in is absolutely perfect for you. But where I see a lot of people go wrong, and this is where I went wrong for years, probably about a decade. And this is the really, really big secret that I'm going to share with you today on self-development and improving yourself and, becoming the more evolved version of yourself. Where I see most people go wrong and where I went wrong for decades is trying to add things. So we think, I want to improve myself. I need to add new habits. I need to make sure that I wake up at 5 a.m. every single day and have 40 things to do on my morning routine checklist. And I need to go to the store and I need to buy every single self-help book that I possibly can and read the first 12 pages and then go to the next one and read another 12 or 13 pages and then go to another one, never fully actually finish a page. And I need to go to conferences and I need to do all of this. And all of these are great. I mean, I've done all of them. I've done the morning routines, the checklist, I've probably read 400 self-development or business books or mindset books or neurology books in my lifetime. And all of it is great and all of it's important. But I want to tell you that the secret to self-development that took me over a decade to realize is that self-development is not about addition. Self-development is about subtraction. And I didn't know this for years. I didn't know it. It's subtracting all of the things from your life before adding anything else to it. And what I want you to realize is that when you look at it and you think about this, you realize self-development is about subtraction. You start asking yourself, what do I need to subtract? I didn't know this for years, a decade. I had way more knowledge than I ever had. I had all these books that I read. I had done all kinds of stuff, but I felt the same inside of myself. And the secret to self-development is doing less. It's removing things from your life before you add anything to your life. I didn't know this for a very long time. And so you look at your life and you say, well, I want to evolve, AKA get better. I want to get better in some sort of way. And once again, I'm using that lightly because once again, better implies worse. But I want to get better. I want to evolve. I want to become a different version of myself. What are the things that I need to do? And we start thinking about the stuff we need to add to our lives and the new habits and the new working out every single day and all the stuff that we need to do. When in reality, the very first thing we need to do is remove a lot of shit from our lives. And we need to basically pull the weeds. It's like you're walking up to a garden, if you're 27 years old, 37 years old, and you're listening to this, let's say you're 37 and you're now becoming aware of yourself and starting to work on yourself. It's like you have a garden that's been sitting there by itself for 37 years. If you're going to try to create a brand new perfect garden in that place, what do you have to do first? You have to pull out 37 years of weeds. And so another way of thinking about it is like when your computer gets a virus and it has a virus, you don't add a bunch of programs to it and hope that those programs remove the virus. No, what do? You say, oh my gosh, my computer has a virus. You try to identify the virus and then remove the virus as quick as possible so that the computer can get back to its normal working order. It's the same thing for you. You need to remove the viruses from your mind. You need to remove the viruses from your life. You need to uninstall the programs that are holding you back from being the person that you could possibly be. And I'm going to say something that's really surprising, I think, to some people. And some of you are going to question whether there's the validity of it. But success is not hard. It's not. I struggled for years to try to get to what I thought successful means. And whatever success means to you, it could be business, it could be money, it could be marriage, it could be relationship with your children, all of that stuff. Whatever success means to you, and success can mean all of those things. None of them are hard. Success is not hard. I want you to understand this. As a human on this earth, as a living, breathing, sentient being, success and all that it is natural. To be a human means to think something and to be able to create into reality. That is what is natural for us. But you have too many shitty programs running that it's in the way of everything. And this is what I came to realize for years, is that I was trying to force my way and white knuckle my way and put 110 hours a week into being successful, when really I just had to take a step back, ask myself if I was in alignment with my true purpose and what I felt like I should be doing and doing what gave me energy, and then going down that road. Success is natural for you. The problem is, in order to get there, we have to remove all of the shit that's in the way. There's something incredibly powerful inside of you that you are keeping covered up. And for years, you've unconsciously been doing this, but you have to remove these things. And as you start to find these things that need to be removed, I promise you this, it doesn't feel powerful at first. You start noticing these things, you start feeling, at first when you're starting to work these and you're not feeling powerful, you're feeling angry, you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling sadness, you're feeling anxiety, you're feeling all of the stuff that's in the way and that is in the way and that is blocking you. And all of that stuff are the things that you need to remove in order to make yourself be more in alignment and make everything much easier in your life. Your power is covered up with all of your programmings from your childhood, all of your conditionings from your childhood, all of your dogmas that you've picked up in your lifetime, all of these beliefs that you're trying to believe into being true, but they really don't hold a whole lot of weight. Beliefs in yourself, beliefs in everything that's around you, beliefs in other people. If you could understand how powerful you are, it would blow your mind. But you have all of this shit that is in the way and that is blocking you from your potential. The way I like to think of it is this, and I gave this example a few months ago, but I like to think of it like a river that's flowing. If you've ever seen a nice, calm, peaceful river just flowing, that's like your life. And to jump in that is to just basically be in the flow of life. If you've heard that phrase, to be in the flow of life. But when you have all of these things that you think about yourself, these negative beliefs, this negative patterns of talking to yourself, these people who talk down to you, toxic environments that you're stuck in, this job that you hate, you're basically taking a boulder and you're putting it in the river. And when you take enough boulders and you put it into a river, what happens? It becomes whitewater rapids and it becomes insane. It becomes crazy. It becomes just shit everywhere is basically what it becomes, right? And so it becomes from this nice, peaceful river to you might drown in this river. And each boulder that you put in is just some belief that you're holding on to about yourself. And so it's really not about doing more. It's about doing less. It's about removing all of those boulders from your life. And when I say doing less, I mean way less of what you've been doing. Way less. I don't mean sit around on the couch and do nothing. Now, if you're sitting around on the couch and you're meditating for an extra 4 hours a day, I think that's a great way to use your time, but I'm going to assume that most people listening to this podcast are not doing that. I'm not saying, oh, you need to do less and then you need to spend more time on Instagram, but I mean doing less of the things that are holding you back, doing way less of what you've been doing way less of what you've been thinking, having way less of what you believe about the world and about yourself. And what's really crazy is as you start doing less of those things, you start getting more. You start getting more peace, more happiness, more joy. Success kind of seems to flow to you. You get people, opportunities, places, things that come into your life that are just fully aligned and feel right in your life that you just were kind of energetically blocking for years. You get things that you never thought you could possibly have that are just kind of effortlessly flowing to you. And you need to really self-analyze and ask yourself, what do I need to do less of? For each of these things I'm about to tell you in a second, for each of these things, I want you to ask yourself, is it helping me grow into who I want to be? And you start going through all these different categories in your life, and you start removing all of the things that are not helping you grow into who you want to be. And so, for instance, the thoughts in your head, are they helping you grow into who you want to be? There are some thoughts that might be helping you grow into who you want to be, but there might be some thoughts that are actually holding you back from being who you want to be. There's thoughts in your head where you're talking trash to yourself and you're not nice to yourself, whatever it might be. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not worthy of success. I'll never be successful because of X, Y, Z, because of what I look like, because of my gender, because of what people think about me, or because of where I grew up, because of my family. And there's all these thoughts in your head. You've got to ask yourself with those thoughts in your head, are they helping me be who and grow into who I want to be? Then you got to look around you, outside of you, the people that you surround yourself with. Are they helping you grow into who you want to be? If they are, certain people, keep them. If they're not, maybe you need to make a really tough decision around that. Think about, spending time on your phone. Is it helping you grow into who you want to be? Who you follow on social media, spending time on TikTok, is that helping you grow into who you want to be? Or is that something that's just a boulder that needs to be removed? The job you work, is that helping you grow into who you want to be? Where you live, is that helping you grow into where you want to be? What you do in your downtime, is that helping you grow into who you want to be? What you consume, whether it's food or drugs, is that helping you grow into who you want to be? The things that you do on your phone and the phone time that you have, are those helping you grow into who you want to be? Video games, is that helping you grow into who you want to be? Is Netflix helping you grow into who you want to be? And I want you to understand that before any big breakthrough, there must be some sort of a breakdown. Almost every single time that I've seen myself and seen clients and people that I've worked with over 17 years now have some sort of big breakthrough, there's almost always a breakdown. And that breakdown can happen to you just out of nowhere, and that was just something you're supposed to do. Or you can start to break down pieces of your life, and you can start to say, this is no longer serving me. I'm not going to allow this to exist in my life anymore. And you start to break down things yourself to allow a breakthrough to start to come through. And I want to leave you with this question and this thought. I guess it's a series of questions, but really just a series of questions that are just a thought I want you to think about today. When you get done with today's podcast episode, you can turn this off, sit in your car in silence for the rest of the drive, and just start to think about this. What if success was effortless for you? What if it was? What if you are the one that is getting in the way of everything that you want? What if this life doesn't have to be so much of a struggle? And what do you need to do to be more in flow with your life and struggle much less? So that's what I'm going to leave you with today. That's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on your Instagram stories and tag me in it, Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. And once again, if you want to get some inspirational text messages from me sporadically throughout the week, I'm going to send some love to your phone. Text me right now if you're in the US or Canada. It is 512-580-9305. Once again, 512-580-9305. And with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make somebody else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. Welcome to today's video. Today, I'm going to teach you how to learn, grow, and improve in your life exponentially very quickly, starting today. Let's dive in. And I'm going to be talking to you about why just reading books is not really enough for you in your personal development. Why going to conferences and hiring a coach or hiring a therapist is not enough. And there should be another level on top of that. Now, I'm not saying don't do any of those things because I think all of those things are important. But what I'm telling you is that I think most people, a lot of people, I'll actually say, miss the boat on what real personal development is. I'm going to talk to you about how to improve your life really quickly and how to basically use your life as the way I like to call it, as like a classroom for you, right? Every single thing that happens to you is your classroom. So your lessons are constantly coming to you all day long. Everything that happens to you, whether you view that thing as good, whether you view it as bad, or whether you view it as just neutral, is your opportunity to learn and grow. The problem is that a lot of people don't see it that way. They don't really perceive it that way, so they don't really even know. And one of the misconceptions about personal development, and I've been in personal development now for 19 years, and I know a lot about it. I've read hundreds of books, I've been to tons of conferences, I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into myself. And I think all of it is very important, but a lot of times people think personal development is just reading a book or sitting down and meditating or going to a conference or finding time to journal or listening to a podcast like this. All of that stuff is great. Those are all great and they're all needed, but they're not the only thing. It's like, this is the example that I'll give you, right, that pops into my head. Reading a book about how to improve yourself and then not taking that in to your life and trying to use it is like trying to become a pro basketball player by watching the playoffs, but never actually stepping on the court. Your life is your court. Your life is the chance where you get to take a shot, to miss, to screw it all up, to realize, oh man, I really screwed that thing up. Let me try to get a little bit better. You know, people think like, I got to get my 30 minutes of personal development in the morning. No, dude, your entire life is your personal development, in every moment of your life, in the way that you show up, the way that you talk to the people, the way that you talk to yourself, even in just the way that you feel in a quick moment of silence over 2 minutes. Do you feel stressed? Do you feel anxious? Is there something that you can do to recalibrate in the moment to make yourself feel a little bit better? You know, some people will go and read a book and then get into an argument with their spouse and not realize that argument with their spouse was their greatest opportunity for personal growth that day, not reading a fucking book. The real thing is you have to ask yourself is like, why was there an argument in the first place? Where were you triggered? What triggered you about what they said or what they did? Why is that a trigger for you? Because whenever you're triggered by somebody, it's a massive opportunity for you to learn. Because when you are triggered, a trigger, and to be triggered by somebody is just the universe showing you where you are not free. It's showing you where you are locked in this construct of, this is the way that it's supposed to be. This is the way that they're supposed to be. This is the way a relationship is supposed to be. And when a trigger comes to you, it is not a moment for you to get mad at the other person. Now, mind you, we all get lost in the moment-to-moment things where we can get mad at somebody. But if we take a step back, realize that when you're triggered, it is nobody else's fault but your own. It's not, because the exact same thing could have happened to somebody else and them not get triggered, which shows that it's not the trigger, it's you. If you have an anger problem, if you have a short fuse, if you lash out at people, if you get extremely emotional when someone does something to you, that is you. It's not the circumstance, it's your reaction to the circumstance is the thing that you need to work through. And so I love that you listen to this podcast. I love that you read books and you go to conferences and you have a coach or a therapist. I love all of those things. But every moment of your life is your classroom to improve yourself. You know, was your spouse triggered based off of something that you did or something that you say? Where did that come from? Can we try to help them through it? I always say when someone triggers you, you want to punch them. You know, if someone on the street says something to you and it triggers you and makes you mad, you want to punch them. But in reality, you should give them a high five because they just showed you where you're not free. And it is my personal belief, and I'll just share a couple personal beliefs with you guys throughout this podcast episode. It is my personal belief that when someone comes into your life, you know, let's say somebody, you're having a great day, you're driving to work right now, you have your coffee and the sun's shining, you've been having such a great day. And then somebody cuts you off, flicks you off, and, you know, throws their coffee behind them, and it hits your windshield, right? And you get furious, right? I get as a human why you can be furious in that moment. But as a soul that's coming here to have a human experience, what I see that person that triggered you as is the universe coming to you through that person to show you where you're not free. It is your greatest moment to learn in that moment, right? So it's like, that's an extreme example. Someone throwing their coffee at your car. Yeah, most people listening to this podcast are going to get pretty pissed. But let's just say they cut you off and you get so wound up. It's like, okay, why did I get wound up? Well, that is the universe coming to you through that person to show you where you are not free. You know, you can listen to this podcast, and I love that you listen to this podcast and get all excited about growing. And then 30 minutes later, your child has a temper tantrum in Target and you freaking lose it. I love that you listen to the podcast, but that moment where you had the decision of, and it might have been an unconscious decision. It was just right there of like, do I breathe or do I freak out right now? That moment where you made that decision, and that moment where you need to figure out what to do, where your child is having a temper tantrum, that is a much better place to get your personal development in this podcast. I love that you listen to this podcast, but the training, this is the knowledge, right? The training happens in real life. Can you learn to keep calm in the middle of any storm? You know, that moment was an opportunity for you to learn and grow. Did you take the universe up on that opportunity? You know, let's take a different example, because I know a lot of people get very triggered in relationships, right? Let's say that your boyfriend or your girlfriend forgets to call you. They were supposed to call you before they went to bed, and they fell asleep. Let's say, for instance, you don't know they fell asleep, but it triggers you, and it triggers something deep inside of you. Maybe it triggers you and you don't realize it, but it triggers your fear of abandonment from your childhood because maybe your father wasn't around. That's your trigger. Sure, you can blame it on them, but you were the one that was triggered. Some people, they'd be like, oh, they must have fallen asleep. No big deal. I'll talk to them tomorrow. But you're the one who started getting pissed off, and it was your trigger, and that's the universe saying, hey, you know, knocking at your door. Hey, sweetheart, you still have this fear of abandonment. You still have this abandonment issue that you need to work through from your childhood. I'm coming to you through your girlfriend to show you where you're not free. And when you start to see this, you really start to see that all of life is a lesson for you. There are lessons, 40, 50 lessons a day for you if you're really sitting there trying to work on yourself. Your life I always say this, me and my best friend always say this, your life is a perfectly crafted curriculum for you to evolve into the highest version of yourself. Whatever that means. Your life is a perfectly crafted curriculum for you to evolve into the highest version of yourself. You know, and I'll share a kind of my viewpoint. I shared this a couple years ago on the podcast, but I remember there was a moment where I was driving with my mom, and my mom was saying, you know, she was basically saying to me that she felt really guilty for marrying my dad and bringing myself and my sister into this world to have an alcoholic father. And so I said to her, I was like, I don't think you should feel guilty at all. Like, I think that it was perfect for me. Like, I wouldn't do what I do now if, and you know, have impacted people's lives if I didn't go through all of that shit with my dad. And my sister is going to school to be a therapist and to help abandoned children, specifically girls, try to, you know, interact in the world and get better in the world. And so it's like having an alcoholic father who kind of abandoned us was the best thing that could have happened. But anyways, I was talking to my mom about this and sharing my perspective, and I said, hey, here's the way that I see it. And if you want to take this perspective, you can. If you don't, no big deal. I'll just share my perspective to everybody. The way I said it is, you know, I believe that I am a soul that is having a human experience. And I am in this physical body. Sure, I've been given the name Rob Dial and all of that stuff. But the way I see it is like my soul was basically one day flipping through a karaoke book of life's, and it was saying, okay, well, you know, there's this guy, there's John Smith, and there's Taylor Green, and then there's Rob Dial, and Rob Dial is going to be, you know, son to Debbie and Steve is going to have childhood trauma that he didn't overcome. Steve's father ended up killing himself when he was 12, and he walked in the room and saw that, and he's never going to overcome this trauma, and because he's not going to overcome this trauma, he's going to become an alcoholic. And Rob's going to have to deal with this, and his parents are going to get divorced when he's 10, and his father is going to pass away at 15 from being an alcoholic, and here's all of the things that are going to come from it, and all of the things that he needs to work through. And it's like, I like to view it as my soul was looking through this book and said, I think my next level, kind of like a video game, I think my next level is this Rob Dial one. I'm going to choose this one because this is what I need to get to my next level and to evolve into my highest version of myself. So my soul went, yep, I'm going to take Rob Dial. And so what happens is now I can never look at any circumstance in my life as a victim because I believe that I chose it. You know, and I believe that our souls took this exact body in life to learn and go through whatever it is that we need to go through to get to whatever it is, the next plane or whatever it is, that next level of enlightenment, whatever happens after this, I don't know. So everything that happened to me in my life so far and that will happen to me was chosen by me, not by Rob, like the physical version of me, but the soul. And so when you look at it that way, it really takes victimhood out of it. You know, I've talked with a lot of people who are really just stuck in the feeling of being a victim. And I share this with them, and then they start to think about it, and they're like, man, yeah, I can start to see that perspective. And I don't need someone to take my full-on perspective, but if they can start to see a little bit of a perspective, they can start to see, wow, yeah, everything that's here is like a video game. It's for me to learn and grow and get better. So all of the love that I have is a lesson for me to learn and grow and get better. All of the loss, all of the people who have died, all the people who have broken my heart, my sadness, my happiness, my anger, my frustration, every single thing that is brought to me is my opportunity to learn and grow. And we can play the victim, but if we play the victim, we miss those lessons. We miss our opportunity to grow. You're listening to this podcast because you want to get better for some sort of, in some way, for some reason. And so if you just listen to this podcast and it goes in one ear and out the other, and then you have a blow up with your significant other in 20 minutes after listening to this podcast, did you get the lesson? Is there a lesson in that blow up that you can extract from it? The highest version of you is not found in a book. It's on the other side of a breakdown. It's on the other side of a fight. It's on the other side of a blow up. It's on the other side of whatever it is that triggers you. And so really what it comes down to is to start to become aware of these things and start to become notice when your body shifts in some sort of way. Notice when you start to feel either a shift from, calm, peaceful, to angry, or from calm and peaceful to stressed out, or calm and peaceful to anxious, or calm and peaceful to sad. Notice the feeling. And just, it's okay. Then, don't try to deflect and not feel the feelings. A lot of people, I think, try not to feel their feelings. Like, just notice the feeling. Breathe in the feeling for a second. Don't resist it. And then ask yourself, what am I feeling? Like, what is this feeling in my body right now? Oh, you know what? I'm feeling really anxious. Okay, why am I feeling this way? I'm feeling this way because, my girlfriend said she was going to text me before she went to bed. She usually goes to bed at 10. It's now 11. And I'm feeling really triggered by the fact that I haven't been called yet or I haven't been texted yet. Okay, what is that showing me about myself? Well, it's showing me that I don't like when people who I'm close to don't end up calling me. Okay, why is that? Is there something that happened in my past that maybe I can make some connections? Yeah, well, I kind of have think I might have a fear of abandonment. Okay, where did this fear of abandonment come from? Well, it came from the fact that my father wasn't around. And then what happens is instead of getting mad at yourself for being triggered or getting mad at someone else in that triggering, what happens is you just become very curious. That's one of the things that I think is a skill set that people should develop in personal development, is to become very curious about yourself. Become very curious as to why you think the way that you think, why you feel the way that you feel, why you act the way that you act, where you got it from. Trace it back to your childhood. Take out a pen and paper and just ask yourself questions. Does this relate to my childhood? Does this fear of abandonment relate to my childhood? Oh my God, it relates to my dad. I can start to see this. And what happens is you start to make connections with yourself. You start to understand yourself at a much, much deeper level. And then when you start to feel that trigger coming up again, you can become much more self-aware because you're now starting to notice this pattern within yourself. And if you can notice the pattern within yourself, if you can notice the self-awareness, you can start to work through it. You can start to breathe through it. And you can say, you know what? Is it possible? And you just ask yourself the question, is it possible that maybe my girlfriend fell asleep? Maybe if someone's been cheated on in the past and it's like, oh my God, she didn't text me. She must be cheating on me with somebody else. That's a whole other trigger. Is it possible that she fell asleep and she's not cheating on me? And just try to see a little bit different of a perspective. And it's never comfortable to be triggered. But being triggered is a gift, because it's showing you where you're not free. So don't resist it. Instead of trying to get away from it, what if you start to lean into it? Start to lean into those uncomfortable feelings. Your resistance doesn't help you. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help your loved ones. It doesn't help the world. I think the reason why we're here is so that we can start to break free and liberate ourselves from the mental prisons that we've all created subconsciously or unconsciously over the course of our existence, from things that we learn from our parents, we learn from society, and these constructs and patterns and conditionings that we've learned along the way. We lost ourselves along the way, and now it's about going back and trying to find ourselves. And so when you get these triggers, it's showing you where you're not free. Ask yourself about them. What can you learn from it? What can you learn from it? What can you learn from it? Because this is the true classroom of your life and the place where you can really learn and grow the most. So when you're triggered by somebody and you go through life, realize that there's always something to learn. Are you getting the lesson from everything that happens to you? So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please do me a favor. Share it on your Instagram stories. Tag me in it, Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. Also, if you love this podcast, you're definitely going to love something that just came out called Mindset Mentor Plus. Mindset Mentor Plus is my way of taking this podcast episodes, not just listening to them passively, but actively putting them into your life. And so for every single podcast episode that comes out here, there are worksheets that you can go through that are like mini masterclasses to help you really ingrain and integrate every aspect of these podcasts. There are multiple pages. They can be printed out so you can learn more. There's journal prompts. There's assignments. There's an entire community of other people who are in Mindset Mentor Plus. And I also do monthly Q&A sessions in there as well. So if you want to learn more about it, go ahead and go to mindsetmentor.com. Once again, mindsetmentor.com. And with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make somebody else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. Welcome to today's video. Today, we're going to be talking about the consequences, the positive consequences, and the negative consequences of everything that you do, because time always catches up. And if you take the right action, you're going to have consequences that you really like. If you have the wrong action, you're going to have consequences you don't really like. So let's dive in. We tend not to think of the long-term consequences of not working out. We tend to not think of the long-term consequences of building the business that we want to, or waking up early to put more time into our self-development. We tend to try to avoid the negative consequences. Let me say this. We tend to try to avoid thinking about the negative consequences in life. And so, I always say, like, the negative consequences of our actions are always just a little bit out of the side of our view, right? It's like, for those of you guys that can't see the video, it's like my fist is over here to the right and I'm always looking over to the left. And it's like, so often it's like our negative consequences are right there. They're just out of sight. And we try not to look at them. We try to act like everything's going to be okay if I don't take care of myself. Everything's going to be okay if I don't build my business. Everything's ever going to be okay if I don't start working on my personal development. And really what we're trying to do is we're trying to take our head and then just turn it and look directly at those consequences. Because what we tend to do is we tend to think about the negative consequences of following the life that we want. We tend to think about the negative consequences of what it is that we want versus what it is that we don't want. We tend to think of all of the negative consequences of doing the thing that we actually truly want to do with our life. And we tend to think of all of the positive consequences of not doing what we want to do. And so I'll kind of break down what this means. If you're like, what the hell is this guy talking about? We're going to dive into it. But we don't tend to focus on the negative consequences that are just right there, and we're trying not to pay attention to them. The negative consequences of not taking action, of staying in mediocrity, all of that. And I want to take a step back before we go any further. And I want you to realize that whenever you say yes to something, anything, you are automatically saying no to something else. So whenever you say yes to sleeping in, you're saying no to having a morning routine or going for a run. You're saying no to reading those books in the morning and working on your personal development. So whenever you say yes to anything, you are automatically saying no to something else. And so you've got to start thinking about that. When I'm saying yes to something, when I'm saying yes, I'm going to sit on the couch and watch Netflix for 4 hours. What am I saying no to? You're saying no to a lot of other things. So, when you're saying yes to watching the Netflix, you're saying no to building your business, or you're saying no to creating the wealth for yourself and for your family. You're saying no to the people whose lives you could change by your business existing. And so you have to understand that with every yes, there's also a no, just the way that it goes. See, what we tend to focus on, though, is relaxing or hanging out or downtime. Oh, I'm going to focus on some me time. And then you sit and watch Netflix and trash TV for 4 hours, right? There's nothing wrong with hanging out, with watching Netflix, with decompressing. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's always consequences to everything that we do. And there's also consequences to everything that we don't do. And so if you were planning on, being really productive today, but you decide to sit on the couch and watch Netflix, well, there's negative consequences that come with that. And we tend not to try to think about those negative consequences. If you're saying yes to sleeping in, you're saying no to a morning routine. You're saying no to morning yoga. You're saying no to morning meditation. You're saying no to starting that new book that you just bought. You're saying no to journaling and getting to know yourself on a deeper level. And life is full of consequences. There's positive consequences and there's negative consequences with every single action that you do or do not take in life. There's always consequences. And time will always catch up to you. I say this all the time, but time is either your best friend or your greatest enemy. And as you fast forward 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from today, you're going to find out if you took the right actions today or if you didn't. And so when you start to look at it and you say, okay, well, yeah, Are there quote unquote negative consequences to building my business? Yeah, it's going to take a lot from you, right? To build the business. Are there positive consequences? Yeah, but which ones are you focusing on, right? So what are the consequences of building my business? Well, creating wealth for myself, creating freedom are a couple positive consequences. What else? Doing something that I love, that makes me feel good, that is fulfilling for me. Okay, that's a positive consequence. Working for myself and not having to have anybody else tell me what to do. That's a positive consequence. What else are positive consequences? Time freedom. Location freedom, being able to travel whenever I want and not have to put PTO time in. Doing what I want, when I want, with who I want. Those are the positive consequences of me putting my head down, taking the right action, and building my business. Are there negative consequences to it? Absolutely. And that's usually what we tend to focus on. We tend to focus on, oh, God, I got to work so hard to build this business. Oh, I gotta be dedicated. Oh no, I've got to get out of my comfort zone. I've got to face rejection. I got to go try to sell my product where people are going to say no to my face. Those are some negative consequences. I gotta face all of my insecurities, because as building a business, all of your insecurities are going to come up to the surface. And so are there negative consequences? Yeah. Are there positive consequences? Yeah. But what do we tend to do that stops us from taking action is we tend to spend all of our time focusing on the negative consequences. Oh my God, what if somebody says no to me? Oh, I don't want to get out of my comfort zone. I don't want to work hard today. I don't want all of my insecurities to come to the surface. And our brain gets focused on that thing and doesn't think about anything else. It doesn't think about the wealth. It doesn't think about the freedom. It doesn't think about not having to work for someone else. It doesn't think about being able to do what I want, when I want, with who I want. No, it just thinks about all of the negative consequences. And when we're constantly thinking about the negative consequences, is it going to be hard for us to take action? Yeah, because the only thing that you're thinking about is the shit that you don't want to be doing. You're like, I don't want to do any of these things. And so what do? We focus on the negative. And then what happens? We end up not getting the life that we want because we don't take any action. So what are the consequences of not building my business? Well, same old life, nothing changed. I have to work for someone else forever. Maybe I don't feel fulfilled and I don't have the life that I want. Maybe not creating wealth for myself and for my family and being able to put my children in better schools, being able to pay for their college. Yeah, those are some consequences of not building my business. And so it's good for you to understand that there's always positive consequences. There's always negative consequences. But if you're going to take action towards building the life that you want, you've got to start focusing more on the positive versus thinking about the negative. It doesn't mean the negative doesn't exist. You're still going to have to work hard. You're still going to have to wake up early. You're still going to have to get rejection and face rejection all day, every single day. But you're doing it because you're constantly focusing on the end result that you're trying to get to, the life that you're trying to build for yourself. Let's give you another example. Are there consequences to creating a healthy lifestyle? Are there positive consequences to creating a healthy lifestyle? Whether that be eating healthier, working out more, going for runs more, breaking a sweat more often. Are there positive consequences to that? Yeah, you might be able to live longer. There's a pretty good chance you'll live longer if you have a healthier lifestyle, right? So you'll live longer. You'll be healthier. You'll have more energy. You'll have more mobility in your old age as you get older. So if you're 25 years old, you don't really care about your mobility, but as you start getting 40, 45, 50, 60, you can start to see, oh man, I should have worked out a little bit more. I should have done some more stretching. I should have done some more yoga. They always catch up. They always catch up. And you always think you have more time. That's the crazy part about it. So those are some of the positive consequences of a healthy lifestyle. I guarantee everybody listening to this podcast wants to be healthy, but we usually don't focus on the positive. And the positive consequences. What do we focus on? We focus on the negative consequences of being healthier. Are there negative consequences? Yeah, there's really hard work. There's dedication. There's saying no to eating the food that we would normally enjoy. You know, like it's a bag of hot Cheetos. Yeah, that shit tastes really good, doesn't it? But it's full of fat. It ain't good for you. It's not real food. That's imitation food. So those are some negative consequences. Waking up earlier so you have time to go for a run, working out, whatever it might be. Sweating. Ugh. Having to take a shower after you work out. So you have less time because you got to take more showers. Are there negative consequences? Yeah, there's a laundry list of negative consequences. And that's what we tend to focus on as humans. We tend to focus on all of the negative consequences. It's just what humans do. I've been studying humans for a really long time and working with humans and trying to figure them out and reading books on them. And we tend to focus on the negative more than the positive. It's just a natural tendency of humans. Now, the reason why I focus on the negative is because we want to avoid any potential threats coming into our future. So we focus on the negative. It's the reason why people love trash reality TV is because it's so negative and your brain just gets attached to it. So when we look at the healthy lifestyle again, are there consequences, long-term consequences to not creating a healthy lifestyle? Yeah, for sure. And that's what we don't pay attention to usually. We tend to pay attention to the negative consequences right now, which make us not take action. We don't pay attention to the negative consequences in the future. So what are the negative consequences of not living a healthy lifestyle? Not living as long, not looking as good as you could, less energy as you get older, which will permeate into other parts of your life, into your relationships, into your work. Maybe not being able to play with your grandkids as you get older, not being as mobile. Yeah, of course, there's always negative and there's always positive consequences to every single thing that you do. There is no way around it. But really what it is what are you focusing on and what are you taking action on? Because we like to turn a blind eye to the negative consequences of our actions or lack of action. We like to act like it's not going to catch up to us. We like to act like if I don't go to the gym, if I don't eat healthy, if I don't do what I need to do, it's not going to catch up to me. But we all know in the back of our heads, I'm fucked in the future if I don't do this. But we're like, I'm not going to pay attention to it. You got to pay attention to it. You've got to start being driven instead of by your short-term fears. You've got to be driven by your long-term fears. And it's harder because it's not in this moment. It might be 5 years down the road, it might be 10 years, it might be 20 years down the road. But it's got to drive you to take the action that you need to create the life that you want, whether that's the business you want, the family that you want, the body that you want, the health that you want. You've got to start paying attention to the consequences. They're there. They're right under your nose if you're looking for them. Because we like to turn a blind eye to all of the negative consequences of our actions or our lack of actions. But it doesn't mean that they're not there. They're still there. Whether we look at the negative consequence or not, they will still always be there. And you've heard me say it over and over again. Life is either hard now and easy later, or easy now and hard later. Like this morning, I woke up, had my trainer come over, did a freaking workout with him. He kicked my ass. Was it hard now? Yeah. But why am I doing it? Because I want to live longer. I want to have an extra 20 years. I want to be mobile later on in life. I don't want to be one of those hunched over old people that can barely move around. And so I'm choosing hard now so that my life can be easier later. Because if I choose easy now and I don't have a trainer and I don't have someone to work out with and I don't go to the gym and I don't eat healthy, it's going to be hard later. And it's going to be hard later for longer than it was hard now. That's what's crazy about it. It's going to be hard either way, but we get to choose our hard. We get to choose which one we decide that we want to have. We can't act like we're the victim of our circumstances. You're never a victim of any of your circumstances. Where you are right now is not your parents' fault. It's not the economy's fault. It's not the president's fault. It's not the Wall Street's fault and the ups and the downs and all of that. We can try to external blame as much as possible. But where you are right now is the fault of the version of you 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, and the actions that version of you did or did not take. So if you look around and you're like, hey, my life is pretty awesome and it's great, well, that means that you made some hard decisions and took some hard actions in the past that created a great, easier life now. But if you look around and life is kind of hard and you don't like where you are, I'm sorry to tell you, it's because of what you did or didn't do in the past. That being said, success leaves clues. If I'm looking at my life and I'm saying, oh man, I don't really like where I am, I didn't make enough hard decisions in the past, what am I going to do? I'm going to need to make some hard decisions now. I'm going to have to do some hard actions now. I'm going to take some action now. I'm going to have to do what I need to do in order to make my life easier. We have to realize, you have to realize, I have to realize, we all have to realize, we have to realize that our actions create our circumstance. It does. It always does. And so you've got to ask yourself, what are the consequences of the actions that you're taking? And you've got to really start to think about them. What are the positive consequences and what are the negative consequences? And then you ask yourself, if I fast forward 10 years, what's my life going to look like if I continue doing X, Y, Z? And if you like what it's going to look like, do it. If you don't, change it, do something different. Because there's always consequences either way. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on your Instagram stories. Tag me at Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. Also, if you love this podcast, do me a favor. Give us a rating and review however you listen to us. The reason why is because the more positive ratings and reviews that we get on those platforms like Apple podcasts and like Spotify, the more positive ones that we get, the more that they actually show this podcast to people who have never listened to it before, which allows us to be able to grow and to improve and to get better. So if you would give us a quick rating review, it would take you 10, 15, 20 seconds maybe. It would really, really help us out. And with that, I'm gonna leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make somebody else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day.